Hello and welcome to this episode of the Higher Ed Jobs Explained podcast, where we celebrate academia and bring education to everyone.
It's great to be here.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into the often misunderstood world of the professor title, a term that appears frequently on academicjobs.com,
Yes,
but can leave job seekers scratching their heads.
you're absolutely right.
So our listener is interested in UK academic jobs.
Okay.
So let's start by unpacking how professor is used differently across the globe.
Well, Bruce Macfarlane, in his book Intellectual Leadership in Higher Education, actually refers to professor as a slippery term because of this very issue.
So what makes it so slippery?
Well, in North America, professor is a broad term used for anyone teaching and researching at a university, regardless of seniority.
Okay.
While in the UK, Europe, and other parts of the world, it signifies the highest academic rank, a position of real distinction.
It's interesting to consider the implications of these different systems, especially for academics who might be considering international moves.
Yeah.
What advantages or disadvantages do you see for academics navigating these systems?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The North American system, with its broader use of professor, might feel more inclusive to early career academics, but the UK system, with its clearly defined hierarchy, emphasizes achievement
Right.
and can be attractive to those seeking leadership roles.
That makes sense for our listener who might be an adjunct professor in the U.S. considering a move to the U.K.
Absolutely.
Understanding these nuances is really important.
Absolutely.
It's like comparing a resident doctor in a hospital to a consultant.
Exactly.
The consultant has years more experience and a higher level of responsibility.
Yes.
And while we're on the topic of comparisons, let's tackle another common point of confusion.
Okay.
The difference between Dr. Ac and professor. I think many people outside academia and maybe even some inside get these mixed up.
It happens all the time.
So could you clarify for our listener?
Of course.
What are the distinctions?
Dr. Rala signifies that someone has earned a PhD.
Okay,
It's an academic qualification.
got it.
Professor indicates a rank within the university hierarchy.
So you could be a doctor without being a professor?
Yes,
And vice versa.
precisely.
While most professors hold PhDs,
Yeah.
having a PhD doesn't automatically make you a professor.
Right.
So how does someone climb the academic ladder
Mm.
and reach that coveted professor rank in the UK?
Well, there are different pathways depending on the country.
Yeah.
In some European countries, like Germany,
Good.
there's a process called habilitation.
Habilitation.
Yes,
Can you walk us through what that process looks like in practice?
sure.
What are the biggest challenges for academics trying to achieve this?
Essentially, it involves creating a second thesis,
Wow.
even more extensive than your PhD thesis,
Okay.
demonstrating a significant body of original research and scholarship.
Oh, wow.
This work is then reviewed by a panel of professors.
And if you're successful, you become eligible to apply for professor positions.
That sounds incredibly demanding.
It is very demanding.
What kind of support do academics receive during this phase?
It varies, but typically universities offer some guidance and mentoring to help academics prepare for the habilitation process.
So it's like a second, even more intense round of the PhD process.
You could say that.
And what about the UK?
Hmm.
Does the habilitation process apply there as well?
Not quite.
Okay.
The UK system is a bit different.
How so?
Each university sets its own promotion criteria and process. Academics can apply for professor positions as they become available,
Okay.
and the university assesses whether their experience and achievements meet the required standards.
So there's no one set path, but generally a strong track record of research publications, teaching excellence, and perhaps leadership experience are expected.
Exactly.
And of course, it's a highly competitive field.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember, you're aiming for the most prestigious role in the academic world.
That's right. Which brings us to a rather striking statistic from our research.
Okay,
Only about 1 in 10 UK academics are professors.
that's right.
That's a really small number.
It is.
It highlights just how challenging it is to reach that level.
It's not a title that's given out lightly.
It's definitely something for our listener to consider if they are an adjunct professor dreaming of a professorship in the UK.
Absolutely.
Becoming a full professor is a significant commitment,
Absolutely.
and understanding the competitive landscape and the various pathways is essential for anyone hoping to climb that academic ladder.
For sure.
This also raises some questions about what this selectivity means for the overall diversity of thought and experience within UK academia.
Yeah.
Do you think this system encourages specialization within a particular field or broader intellectual exploration?
That's a fascinating question to consider.
Yeah.
I think both can be true.
Okay.
The UK system certainly values deep expertise,
Uh-huh.
but it also recognizes the importance of interdisciplinary collaboration
Right.
and intellectual breadth.
So it's about finding that balance between being a leader in your field while also contributing to a wider academic conversation.
Precisely.
And that's something for our listener to think about as they explore potential career paths on academicjobs.com.
Absolutely.
What kind of impact do they want to make in their field?
Yeah.
And what kind of environment will allow them to flourish?
And it's not just about, individual ambition.
Right. Our research also highlighted the gender imbalance within the UK professoriate.
Yeah, that's a crucial point.
Yeah.
The numbers show that fewer women hold the title of professor in the UK, which raises serious questions about, systemic barriers and equity within academia.
This is particularly relevant for our listener if they are a female adjunct professor looking to make the leap to a full-time position in the UK.
Absolutely. It's important to be aware of this disparity and to investigate how universities are working to address it.
Yeah.
Are there specific initiatives in place to support female academics? Are promotion criteria free from bias? These are essential questions to ask.
It also makes me think about the larger conversation around diversity and representation in academia.
Yeah.
If the traditional path to professorship has historically favored certain demographics,
Right.
how can we create a more inclusive system?
That's a critical question.
Yeah.
Rethinking the traditional pathways to professorship is a good starting point.
Okay.
Are those systems still serving us well?
Hmm.
Or are they holding some people back?
We're seeing so many alternative academic career paths emerging these days.
Right.
Perhaps those offer valuable models for how to recognize and reward a broader range of skills and contributions.
Yes, there are people doing incredible work in research teaching and public engagement who may not fit the traditional professor mold. Their contributions deserve recognition and can enrich the academic landscape.
This is valuable insight for our listener, especially if they are an adjunct professor who might be feeling stuck or uncertain about their career trajectory.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that professorship is one path, but there are many other ways to make a meaningful contribution.
Exactly. You can be a leader in your field, publish groundbreaking research, mentor students, all without necessarily holding that top-level title.
Right.
And those experiences can be just as valuable and fulfilling.
And who knows, maybe the definition of professor itself will evolve in the future to be more inclusive of those diverse contributions.
That's an intriguing thought. What if the academic world started recognizing and rewarding a wider range of skills and experiences? Perhaps we would see a more diverse and dynamic professoriate.
And a more innovative and impactful one, too, I imagine.
Yeah.
After all, the challenges facing the world today demand diverse perspectives and approaches.
Absolutely, and that's where academicjobs.com comes in. They list a wide range of positions, from entry-level roles to senior leadership positions, including those coveted professor roles.
It's a great resource for anyone looking to navigate the complex and ever-changing world of academia, whether they're seeking a traditional professorship or exploring alternative paths.
And as we've discussed today, understanding the nuances of the professor title and the various pathways to achieving it is essential for making informed career decisions.
So let's leave our listener with some final thoughts to ponder as they embark on their academic journey.
Given what we've discussed about the competitive landscape, the gender imbalance, and the evolving nature of academia, we ask, is the traditional path to professorship still the ultimate goal? Or are alternative academic career paths becoming more common and just as fulfilling?
It's a question worth considering as our listener explores the many opportunities available on academicjobs.com and charts their own unique course in the world of higher education.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to think about how we even define success within, academia.
Yeah, and as we've been discussing, that traditional path to a professorship, particularly in the UK system.
It's rigorous and it's very selective.
Especially for those coming from the North American system.
Exactly.
Where the term professor has a much broader application.
Exactly. In the UK, becoming a professor means you've reached the pinnacle of your field. You're a recognized leader and expert.
And it signifies that you've successfully navigated a very, demanding process. Whether that's the habilitation route in some European countries or the internal promotion system within UK universities.
Right. And remember, only a small percentage of academics actually achieve this rank. which makes those professor positions advertised on academicjobs.com.
Yeah.
Even more sought after.
It's like finding a rare gem, a chance to join a select group of academics who are shaking their fields.
Yeah, and for our listener who might be an adjunct professor considering a move to the UK, seeing those listings can be incredibly inspiring.
But it also underscores the importance of understanding what that title truly entails.
Right.
The expectations and responsibilities that come with it.
Yeah. You're not just applying for a job. You're aiming for a position that allows you to make a significant contribution to your field and to academia as a whole.
And for those who might not reach that professor rank, it's crucial to remember that there are many other fulfilling paths within academia.
You can be an exceptional teacher, a groundbreaking researcher, or a leader in your field without holding that specific title.
And perhaps as academia continues to evolve, we'll see a further expansion of what constitutes success and leadership within higher education.
We might see more emphasis on interdisciplinary work,
public
engagement, knowledge translation, and alternative forms of scholarship, all of which are vital to addressing the complex challenges facing the world today.
And those shifts could create new pathways for those who don't necessarily fit the traditional professor mold.
It's an exciting time to be in academia with lots of opportunities for innovation and growth. And for our listener, understanding the diverse landscape of academic jobs is key.
Academicjobs.com is a fantastic resource for exploring those possibilities.
For sure.
They have listings for all types of higher education positions, from entry-level roles to senior leadership positions. And, of course, those coveted professor roles.
So no matter where you are in your academic journey, there's something for everyone.
We hope this deep dive into the world of professor has been insightful and empowering for our listener.
I hope so.
Remember, the path to a fulfilling academic career is not always linear.
Right.
And there are many ways to make a meaningful contribution.
Lots of different ways.
Be open to exploring different options. Advocate for yourself and seek out mentors who can guide you along the way.
That's such good advice.
And above all, never stop learning and growing.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on the Higher Ed Jobs Explained podcast. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the fascinating world of higher education. And remember, for all your higher education job needs, go to academicjobs.com.